about doing linear regression analysis, its interpretation. So in the last in the last class, or in the last session, you would have understood, I guess you would have understood about what is correlation, when is correlation applied, and what are the how to interpret correlation coefficient, and what for which kind of variables how which correlation test needs to be applied. So correlation is basically a statistical method that will describe a linear relationship between two variables, that is x and y, numerically. Now we are going in to regression, which is one step ahead of correlation. So correlation, if you know, it is we try to relate the two variables. We see whether with increase in one variable there is a decrease in the other, or with increase in the other, with the decrease in the other there is an increase in the other variable. So it talks about the strength of relationship. We can say whether how closely they are related to each other. And based on the correlation coefficient values, we can say how much they are correlated, right? So now we are going ahead and looking at next step, that is regression analysis. So in today's presentation, I'll be talking only about linear regression analysis. I won't be going further into advanced statistical techniques, or talking about this regression is quite vast actually, and to be within the limited time, there is a to present about all the concepts of regression is literally impossible. And so in today's presentation, we will be talking only the basic concepts of regression. And it's like there are various models in regression. It's ever expanding. The newer methods are coming, newer regression models are being developed day by day. And even, to be frank, honest, I don't know about many of the advanced statistical regression methods which are still available, and which are already in use. Many are their advanced methods. So my knowledge is also quite limited in this topic, because it's quite advanced, and there are many changes, many new methods that are being developed day by day. So with that, I'll just go to today's topic in detail. So let's look at one small example. Suppose you have a data like body weight and plasma volume in healthy men. Okay, so here we have a weight measured in kilogram, and plasma volume, that is measured in liters. Now the idea is, first we, as a researcher, suppose you're interested to know whether the two variables are related. What you usually do is you plot a scatter diagram. You look at the direction of the relationship, whether it is going as one increases, the other is increasing, or as one increases, the other is decreasing. So you look at the scatter plot, you analyze the relationship, then you look at the correlation coefficient value. You check what type of data is it. So here it is two continuous data. And of course, if it follows normal distribution, then you can apply a Pearson's correlation and see whether what is the degree, how much they are related to each other. Okay. Now, this is how we do. Suppose if this data is normally distributed, then this is the procedure in which we do a regression, Pearson's regression, Pearson's correlation coefficient, and then we calculate the R-square value. So these are just the steps to calculate the R-square value. Yesterday, the correlation value, R value. So yesterday this was discussed with you already. So suppose if the correlation coefficient for this data is 0.75. So how do we interpret the results? Can anyone tell me the answer?
It has a strong positive correlation.
Yes, exactly. You're right. It has a strong positive correlation. That means as the body weight increase, or as the plasma volume increases, or we can say in the other way around also, since the x and y are only the two variables. Suppose if I take plasma volume as the independent variable, we can say that as plasma volume increases, we can say the weight also increases. Now, So this is a scatter diagram for the same data. It's a small data actually, but just for example, I'm trying to show you. So the next step is I want to establish a nature of statistical relationship between these two continuous variables. Okay, so I'm here emphasizing on the two variables are continuous that you have to remember. I'm not talking about any other types of variables. In today's presentation, it is just continuous variables. That's x and y. What I'm talking about will be only continuous variables. Okay. So there are two continuous quantitative variables, and can we predict y using x? So that is the next question. Or you want to know the degree of relationship between two variables. So that is the next step. So usually if you take biological data, you might get a linear relationship or you can get a non-linear relationship also. What is linear? Linear means it's a straight line. Okay, it's a straight line relationship. That's called as linear. Non-linear means it's not actually a, we can't say it's a straight line. There are so many other forms for non-linear relationship. So non-linear is actually a very another important concepts, and there are so many, the rules are different for non-linear type of data. So I'm not touching upon that now. So let's focus only on this part, that is linear data. So linear regression is the next step after correlation, and it's used when we want to predict the value of a variable based on the value of another variable. So the variable we want to predict is called as dependent variable, and the variable what we are using to predict is called as independent variable. So this dependent variable is also sometimes called as the outcome variable, and the independent variable is also sometimes called as the predictor variable. So these are the common terms that we usually use when we talk about regression. Independent variable, dependent variable. So when you hear dependent variable, that means that is your outcome or what you're predicting. And independent variable is what you're using to predict that outcome. For example, in this example which I showed you, we can say plasma volume is the independent variable, and weight is the plasma volume is the independent variable and the weight is the dependent variable. So regression is a statistical technique that helps in qualifying the nature of relationship between the variables. So it's a mathematical function. Since it's a linear, you know about the basics of a straight line, right? The straight line equation is y equal to a plus bx if it is a linear relationship. So to find the relationship between the independent and dependent variable, we use this regression analysis. So the value of the dependent variable is of most important to the researcher, and it depends on the values of not just one independent variables, or there can be many other independent variables also. So it's not just x and y. You can have many x. That means you can have many independent variable that can help you to predict the dependent or the outcome variable. For example, here I have used just weight and plasma volume. So if you want to predict weight, you can add plasma volume, plus you can add some other factors also that can actually that can relate, or you can relate to the outcome. So that is also possible. So it's not, so regression is not limited to one independent variable and one dependent variable. It can be expanded further. So first we will be talking only about the simple linear regression, where there's only one independent variable. And then we will, if there's time, I'll just go about, tell you about what is multiple regression analysis, where there are several independent variables. So this is the equation. So don't worry if you see alpha or beta, or it's a plus bx or mx plus c, it's all the same. So for the some textbooks they give as alpha plus beta 1, some textbook beta naught plus beta 1 x1. But the basic equation, this means that this y here or y hat here, it stands for the dependent variable or the outcome variable, and this is called as the intercept, and this beta is called as the slope. I'll just come and explain it to you in the next few slides about in detail what it means. And this y is the outcome variable and x1 is the independent variable. So actually we are calculating this intercept and the slope when we calculate, when we do a regression analysis. And there is also an error term, and we assume that the error term should follow a normal distribution. That is, statistically, there are some rules when we want to do any regression analysis. So this is one of the assumptions. So I'll come to assumptions and other things in the next few slides. So one important assumption is that the variable should be measured at a continuous level. So I told you it's a linear regression we are talking. So whenever we talk about linear relationship, both the variables, outcome and predictor, outcome variable and the independent, has to be continuous. Then there needs to be there should be a linear relationship or straight line relationship. It cannot be a curvy linear. Okay, that's very important. Then there should be no significant outliers. So I hope you know what is outlier. Outlier means it's an extreme value that can be present in the data. For example, if you take BMI, if you have entered by mistake like 63 or 83, by mistake you have entered. So that becomes an outlier in the data without your knowledge. So in such cases, it is an outlier. So you have to check the data, you have to remove the outlier, you have to enter the correct value. Or sometimes some of the lab values also shows extreme outlier values also. So you have to be very careful because regression is very sensitive to outliers. So you have to ensure that you have to check for outliers, and I'll tell you how to check for outliers in the data in the coming in the practical example. Now you should have independence of observations. That is another assumption, and we can check that. The next one is the data needs to show homoscedasticity. So I'll tell you what is homoscedasticity in the coming slide. Then you have one more assumption that the error term should follow the normal distribution. Error means in the equation I have showed you, this is the last part is called as the random error. So I'll tell you what exactly it is in the coming few slides. So that should follow normal distribution. These are some of the important assumptions. So like any other test, we have to check for these assumptions. Only if these assumptions are valid, then we can go about doing the analysis. Now, residual analysis for linearity. So as I told you, we have to check the linear relationship. So when you plot a scatter plot, you should not get a curvilinear relationship. It has to be linear. So this is somewhat you can see in this diagram. This is a linear relationship, this side. And homoscedasticity. Homoscedasticity means it is a constant variance. That means if you take x and y, this is this is the x axis and this is the y axis. So if you take the average of the y mean average or the mean value of y, so it should be almost it should be distributed. The standard deviation of the variance should be almost closer to the mean. There should not be a lot of ups and downs, like the curve that's called as homoscedasticity. It's a constant variance has to be there. That's called as homoscedasticity. So that is one of the assumptions. So we'll check how we can check for this assumption in the practical. I'll show you. Then the residuals has to be independent. So again, the residuals means the difference between the observed and the predicted. That means observed means what we have in our data, the values, the actual values that, for example, the body weight values, I have actual values. So if I want to, so I get the expected value. So when we do a regression analysis, right? So the difference between the observed and the expected value, that is called as a residual. So that the errors has to be independent. So that part I'll tell you again when we come to the practical. I'll just run the analysis and show you in detail. So right now you understand that the normal distribution of errors is one of the assumptions. So let's look at the equation once again in detail. So this is the regression equation, y equal to a plus bx plus error. So y is the dependent variable, x is the independent variable, a is the intercept, b is the slope, and e is the random error. So y is, for example, if you take the body weight will be y, x will be the plasma volume, and a is called as the intercept, and b is called as the slope. So before that, I'll just, so okay, no problem. I just missed one slide. That's okay. I will try if I can retrieve it. I think it got deleted by mistake. There was a graph which I had put. Okay, no problem. I can show you here also. Okay. So in this case, if you see, so this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. So this is the straight line that we have, that is x and y. So here the intercept means the point that this line meets the y-axis. So this is called as the intercept. And the slope means if you draw, if you try to, if you want to see the rate of change, we usually use this slope. We are actually calculating the rate of change here. This is what we calculate when we, for beta or this regression coefficient, the rate of change. That means as the x increases, what is the change in y? So that's what we show, that's what we do actually. So now let me go back to the equation. Okay. So how do we find out this, these value for beta, or we want to see the rate of change, right? We want to predict y based on x. So if you calculate a and b, then you can predict this, you can calculate this y. So in order to calculate this y, we use a method called as method of least square. So now what is method of least square? So method of least square involves measuring the distance that here you can see. So this is what we are doing. So we have the x variable, we have the y variable, we have the scatter, the plots, the points after drawing the scatter plot. Then we are trying to fit a straight line when we are when we are doing any regression analysis. So when we try to fit a straight line, we have to see that the distance between the two typical data points has to be minimum. So that method of fitting that straight line is called as method of least square. So this is a very commonly used method in regression for fitting the linear regression, for fitting the straight line. So this is called as method of least square. So what we do is we try to minimize the error between the actual value and the fitted line. The difference has to be minimum. That is the assumption, or that is how we go about fitting the straight line. So we have to try and see that the line that we are drawing, we can't just draw a straight line just like that. So we fit a straight line based on this equation by calculating this, the regression coefficient and also the intercept. And then we see whether the error, the difference between what we have observed and what we have fitted is less. So this is the equation to calculate the regression coefficient. Okay, so the regression coefficient, this is the equation. So regression coefficient will tell you the rate of change. That means what is the as 1 unit change in the independent variable. If the plasma volume increases by 1 unit, then what will be the change in the body weight or the weight? So that is actually this beta or b here. So that is calculated by using this equation. Beta 1 is equal to, this is the equation actually. I will show you how it is done in a practical, in an example. So this is the equation. This I have written as mean here. So simplified it like xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar divided by xi minus x bar the whole square. And this is for the intercept. This is slope beta, and this is intercept a equal to y bar minus b into x bar. So this is how we calculate the regression coefficient. So I'll show you an example in Excel and then I will come back to the presentation. So I hope you can. I hope you can see the Excel sheet here. So this is the same. This is the same data. So if you want to calculate the regression coefficient, I've told you we have to take the in order to calculate the coefficient of regression, there's an equation, right? So in order to calculate that, this is the procedure. So first we have x and y values. So what we have to do is we have to calculate the average of x and y values. So this is the average. And here, so this is the average of the y value. So this is the average. So I have calculated the average here. I hope you can see. So this is the average. So I have calculated the average. Now, as per the equation, we have to take this is the numerator, sum of xi minus the x bar into yi minus y bar. That is the in the numerator, divided by xi minus x bar square is in the denominator. So first we have to take the deviances, that is how much each value deviates from the average. So this minus the average 68. So we calculate the deviances. That is each value minus the average value of each group x and y. Not each group, each variable x and y. Then you take the multiply the two values. Then you have to take the squares of xi, the deviances from the mean. This is, and then you have to find the sum of this column to get the numerator. Okay, that's done. So if you divide this by this, so this is the regression coefficient. 0.44 is the regression coefficient value. Okay. So now we have got the regression coefficient. Similarly, we have to calculate the intercept value, y bar minus b into x bar. If you do, that means the average values you have minus beta as a regression coefficient value 0.44, that is what we got, into the average values of x, then you get the intercept value. So this is so that's how we calculate manually. Now in SPSS also I'll show you before stopping. I'll just take you into SPSS. Assumption part I'll tell you later. I'll just show you about how to get the values first. Then we'll talk about the assumptions when I'll take a better example, because this is a small data. So regression, you have to go to regression in SPSS and analyze regression. Go to linear. So we have got the dependent variable and the independent variable. For the time being, I just rename it as plasma volume and weight. So the dependent variable is weight, independent variable is plasma volume. Then go to statistics. These are the options that you have to select. I hope you can, I hope you can see my screen, SPSS screen. So you have to select model fit, estimates, descriptives, and you can, this assumption I'll tell you later, but you have to click on this continue. Then I'll just click on OK right now. So this is the results that you get. So first what you get is the correlation coefficient. And one more thing you have to remember is only if there is a correlation, then we can do a regression. Otherwise, regression doesn't actually make sense, because only if the two variables are interrelated, then you can go for a regression analysis. So you have to check for correlation. So here it is correlated, they are correlated. Then next what you have to do is I'll show you where the beta value comes. So here you can see the the coefficient, regression coefficient is 0.044. So this is the beta value or the regression coefficient value, and the constant here, that is 0.86. This is a constant value. So this is the intercept, and these are the two values we have got, 0.86 and 0.44. This was the same as we got in Excel when we did in Excel. So let's create a regression equation now. So this is the regression equation we have. That is the regression equation is weight is equal to the constant 0.085 plus 0.043 into 0.043 only, this 0.044 is what I got. 0.044 into the x, that is our independent variable or plasma volume. Write it as plasma volume. So this is the regression equation, that is weight is equal to 0.085, that is the constant, plus a constant or the intercept, plus 0.04 beta regression coefficient value into plasma volume. So now we have got a prediction equation. Now for any value of plasma volume, if I put, I should get the regression, I should be able to predict the weight, right? So for example, same data, if I add here, I'll add it here. So this is the actual value, what we have in the data. And we are going to take, we have to predicted values, we have to see what we have got, right? So prediction is prediction is one of the purpose of regression. It's not just fitting the straight line or looking at what is beta. So we have to look at the predictor value. So for any values of x, we should be able to predict y. So here it is 58, right? First value of weight is 58. So 0.085 plus 0.044 into 2.75, sorry, into x, that is C4. So this is the predicted value. So for any value of x you enter, you will be able to get the corresponding value. This equation is not predicting quite well. If you see, because the values, if you see the actual and the predictor. So this is not the actual. Yeah, this is the actual. So this is the actual value. So if you see the actual and the predicted value, there's a lot of difference here. So that means it is not fitting well. So I will tell you about one more example. So this is a small data. I'll tell you about one more example and we'll work it out in SPSS again. So I'll just go back to the PPT and tell you in detail again about the next step, what we have to do. So after you get the beta value, so I hope you understood the procedure of calculating beta or the regression coefficient and how to interpret it. So basically regression coefficient will tell you with what 1 unit increase in the independent variable, what is the change in the dependent variable. That is what you get. And using that, you can create your prediction equation and calculate for any values of X, what is the value of Y. I hope till this you have understood. Now coming to the next part, that is what we have to check when we do a correlation coefficient, regression equation. What we have to check is we have to check one more thing that is called as the coefficient of determination, or R square. So you know about the correlation coefficient, that is small letter r. We denote correlation coefficient by small letter r, which is used to quantify the strength of relationship, right? So when it is R square, this capital R square, it means that it is called as coefficient of determination. This is calculated for a regression. So R square means it's a measure of goodness of fit that will tell you the percentage of variation in the dependent variable that is due to the variation in the independent variable. That means to say that how much variation in your dependent variable can be explained by your independent variable. For example, if it is 50%, we can say that 50% variation in the weight can be explained by the plasma volume. So that tells you how good your model is. If it is less, if it is close to 100, it is better. If it is less than say 50 or 20, we can't say that your the variables that you have taken is good to predict the outcome. The variable so it's talk about it tells you about the goodness of fit of the model. So you need to include more variable in that, variables for as the independent variables to predict the outcome in that case. So R square is the proportion of variation that can be explained, as I told you. So R square is close to 1. That means the model will be better. The prediction equation is better. And R square close to 0 means your regression equation will have very little explanatory power. So before that, now I'll just take you to another example of regression, and I'll tell you how to do the check for the assumption and bit more detail. So this is the data. There's one minute. I'll try to reopen that file. I'm trying to open it again. So I have a data. Just opening that. Open data. So this is the data I have got. I hope you can see the screen. So I have a BMI, SBP, age, and FBS in this data. So I am going to analyze it using regression analysis, and to create a prediction equation, and to see we'll try to interpret the regression coefficient and other related assumptions. We'll check here. So we again go to regression, linear. So suppose if I want to predict BMI and FBS. So dependent variable is BMI. That is what I want to predict based on the FPS. So go to options, statistics, and here you can give model fit estimates, descriptives. Then you give this Durbin Watson, and also you can give this case-wise diagnostics. Continue. Then in plots you can take Z predicted, and you can take Z residuals, histogram normal plot. Then options, say predicted values if I want. Okay, that I'll show you later. Then click OK, then click on OK. So the first part, as you know, it is just the correlation that comes here. The correlation itself is very weak, but no problem. Let's try with some other variable if possible. Let's try with age and FPS. And this is showing, okay, whatever it is. We'll just see how we can interpret this. So let's look at the first I'll tell you what all you will get when you do the analysis. Share the output. I think you can see the output screen now. So this regression is very sensitive to outliers. So as I told you, there are a set of assumptions that we have to check before we do any regression analysis. So what all things you will get is basically you will get a descriptive statistics table. So this is just the mean and standard deviation, the usual one. Then correlation, that is the usual correlation value, Pearson's value you will get. Then you will get a model summary. So here you have to check the Durbin-Watson's statistic. So this is one of the assumption, that is the independence is one of the assumption of X and Y is one of the assumption. So you have to check the Durbin-Watson's value. So usually if the value is between, it has to be between 1 and 3. So if it is not between 1 and 3, if it is greater than 3, then that means it is not having, the assumption is not met. So here it is fine. Now the next part is coming to the ANOVA. So the ANOVA here, you will be thinking why ANOVA is put in this part. That is actually this ANOVA t-test linear regression all comes under a general linear model when we say in statistics. So that is the reason we have this ANOVA here. And one more reason why ANOVA is that it helps in predicting whether there is any significant relationship between the predictor and the outcome variable. So if it is not significant, that means there is no significant there's no significant relationship between the outcome and the predictor variable. So the variable that we choose, this actually means that the variable that we choose did not contribute to predicting the outcome. That is what it means. So that means we should have chosen a better variable it's just a hypothetical example. That's why you see this kind of a data. Usually it would be significant if you are taking apt like BMI or BMI or SBP or anything related like clinically relevant variables. If you take, you might not get this way, but since it's just an example data, it is showing it's not significant. And then you have to see the coefficient. This is the most important table that you have to see. That is the coefficient values. So here, as I told you, this is the constant value and this is the beta regression coefficient value, that is beta. And the unstandardized value and standardized both are there here. Standardized is like standardized coefficient value for beta. It is like for it's more like a Z. Tell you exactly the chance of the independent variable, the chance of the independent variable is associated with how much standard deviations. In terms of standard deviations, it will give you the interpretation. But for your easy interpretation, you can use the unstandardized coefficients itself, and you have to check for the test statistic value also here. So this T statistics is mainly in, if you have many factors, many independent variables, then this is more important. In this situation, since we are dealing with one independent variable and one dependent variable, this is not so important in this situation. So this T is actually, it means that whether adding one predictor will improve the predictability or the predictor. For example, if you're adding FBS plus SVP, then will it improve the predictability or the model or not, and whether it is significant. That is what it gives you. And finally, what you have to see is, you have to see one more thing, that is the residual statistics. So in the standards residual statistics, as I told you, if there are any outliers or not, you have to check. So for that, you have to see the standard residual part. So if the minimum and maximum value should not exceed minus 3.29 or 3.29. So if it is between minus 3.29 and 3.29, that means there is no outliers. So here it is minus 3.0, that means there is no significant outliers. And finally, we have to check for the error, distribution of errors, whether it is normally distributed or not, using a particular histogram, or you can use a basic normality test, which we had discussed in the last previous classes. You can use that, or you can look at the normal PP plot. So if the values are distributed around this line, then that means it follows a normal distribution. Then basically what we predict, and the standardized residual values, and it should not have a particular pattern, this graph what we see here. So this actually tells you. So let's see, when do we use multiple regression analysis? So as I told you, if you have multiple predictor, if you want to include more independent variables for the same, you have to include age, you have to include BMI, you have to include weight. All those things you can include when you're doing a multiple regression analysis. The assumptions are more or less the same, including there's one more assumption here which comes. Other assumptions are almost the same when it comes to multiple regression analysis. The important concept when it comes to multiple regression analysis is multicollinearity. So multicollinearity means if two independent variables are closely related to each other, that causes problem when we are predicting the y. So that should not be present. That is one of the assumption here. And we can check for that assumption when we analyze the data using one test called as variance inflation factor. So using that, we can check that assumption. Other assumptions are almost the same in how it was in linear regression. But here we can actually have multiple factors which can explain the outcome variable. So how does it predict actually? So how it predicts is, it will tell you the outcome y after controlling for the effect of other independent factors. So the multiple regression is relative to one unit change in, that is 1 unit in the dependent variable, holding all the independent variables as constant. So I'll just go to an example here. This is how we get a simple linear regression equation. And this is the multiple form of a multiple linear regression equation. So you can see there are many beta values or regression coefficient values here. So There are some more concepts of regression, but I am not going into detail for all that today because I think this itself is quite. There are so many terms and so many new things or so many concepts in this, so I'll just stop here. I hope you understood what is regression analysis, what is how to go about analyzing a data when you have to interpret the interpretation of linear regression and multiple linear regression is all it's the tables that you get is almost the same. There you have instead of one beta value, you will have two, three values. That is the only difference. The other significance, everything is almost the same results is what you get. So I'll stop here. You have any questions you can ask. And before going, winding up today's session, I will just talk a little bit about the other models also. There are, as I told you, there are many types of models. If such assumptions are not met, for example, if there's any, the dependent variable is, there are many types of dependent variables. It may not be always continuous. It can be categorical, it can be binomial, it can be a lot. So in such situation, we call it, use a general term that is called as the general linear model. So this is a common term that we use. So this is another thing which I want to highlight because there are it's a family of models. It's an umbrella where there are different types of models like logistic regression or cost proportional hazard models. All these there are different types of models in this. So this is a basic, but if you understand the basic, the idea you will be able to interpret any regression coefficient because the interpretation remains the same. So if you have any questions or anything, you can ask, or I can just wind up today's session. Any questions?